morning, Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1FM, 990 AM, WEEB. Welcome back to the most listened to program in all of the Sand Hills. It is time once again for Mornings with the Leader Man. I am Steve Leader Adams. Don't forget, of course, this program is being seen around the world on our live video stream. That's available to you right now at talk973.com. Upper middle part of the page is where the link's located that will get you there. The homepage is where the link is. So click that once and that'll get you where you're going. If you're on your mobile device, your YouTube app will have to do the work for you, or you can come to our website. But usually YouTube will work easier for you. Just put Mornings with the Leader Man in the search and then click the one that says Live Now. The results, if you're on your mobile device looking for just our audio stream, don't need all that visual of the guy sitting at a desk, well, you can get that too. And it's easy to do with many streaming services like TuneIn, iTunes, Streamer. Alexa will do it for you, and Google Assist will do it for you. Just put WEEB into the search parameters. And if you're on a website, that little icon in the upper right-hand corner of every web page that says Listen Live, you tap that once and you're listening back quick. Weather for us today here in the Sand Hills area, well, we're going in the wrong direction today. Mostly cloudy, rain likely by this afternoon. We're only going to muster up to a high of 46 degrees. And tonight, cloudy, rain likely, low 41. Where does rain pop in from anyway? Then we got, let's see, tomorrow we'll start out with mostly cloudy, maybe a little lingering drizzle. Most of the rain will be this late this afternoon and overnight. So that's the good part of it. And it won't be a total washout, but they say up to a quarter inch possible, so that's not a terrible amount. Then Thursday we'll start out with some morning clouds, a little chance of drizzle, but quickly we'll go partly cloudy with a high of 60 by afternoon. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy. Scattered shower can't be ruled out, totally low 42. Friday, back to full sunshine and 64 degrees. Friday night, clear and 42. Saturday and Sunday look good for anything you got planned, and the temperatures will be right for you, too. Sunny with 64 on Saturday, and sunny and 69 on Sunday. And Monday, we're in the 70s. Zowie. That only lasts today, though, and then we're back in the 60s. With a chance of scattered showers on Tuesday. Man, go away rain. Right now around the Sand Hills, winds are north of 5, visibility 10 statute miles, pressure 30.27, dew point 27. Humidity up there at 70%. It's cloudy and 36 degrees here at Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM WEEB. 7:33, 33 past the hour. Let's jump to our sound bites this morning. And all this damp, cold weather, just gives you thoughts of spring, right? And you ask yourself, well, I got to stop Napster as usual. It's just goofing up everything. All right. Where was I? Yeah. Thoughts of spring. What could possibly go wrong, huh?
Besides, it's spring break, right?
Spring break! Yes! Break! Mixed in a way. One bourbon, one scotch, and one beer. I'm on the party town.
Spring break. Enjoy your booze-soaked, shameless, scantily clothed, debauchery-filled escape without parental supervision. What could possibly go wrong?
Wildest spring break ever.
Yeah, if you ever went to the beach for spring break, maybe your experiences were different from mine. You see it on the movies, how everybody has the fun and campfires on the beach and all that. You get down there and there's a long list of can't do's. One of them is can't have fun. And it's difficult to find the party. You know what I'm talking about? And Grandpa doesn't like it. What
in the gold dang world's going on around here? I just don't get all this hoopla about spring break and you bunch of college kids with your partying and hedonistic shenanigans. Back in my day, we didn't have a spring break. There's a week in the spring when the snow melted, you went outside and you looked for food, 'cause you're hungry. Those were the days. Now you got your drinking games and your wet t-shirt contests? Who's responsible for all that? I'll tell you who, Satan! We didn't have wet t-shirt contests. We had quilting bees. And the winner got a new set of pots and pans to cook with. Spring break. Phooey! Here's what I hope all of you do for spring break. I hope you all choke on a wet t-shirt.
Today's show was brought to you by Way Back Wednesday. Remember when wet t-shirt contests and drinking in Mexico during spring break was just fun and not considered a felony by the politically correct police?
Well, it is the first day of spring. Get ready for spring cleaning. And while you're at it, try to figure out why so many commercials throw their products through splashing water.
Hey ladies, get ready for the clean feeling of spring with Spring's Eve. As fresh as the new season, Spring's Eve is the precursor to Summer's Eve, because just like the seasons, spring is all about rejuvenation. So get some today before summer comes and makes everything all hot and messy. Be a fresh new you with Spring's Eve. Yeah, you're going to be so fresh. Fresh as a daisy with the new daisy applicator in the spring rain bag. Ah, the sweet smell of spring.
Well, Warner Brothers chief Kevin Tashihara is stepping down after allegedly offering acting roles in exchange for sex. Here's the news report along with the famous Warner Brothers theme.
Warner Brothers chief Kevin Sojihara is stepping down after allegations he promised acting roles in exchange for sex.
That's all, folks.
There you go. Let's see what else we got. We got plenty of stupid news for you this morning. A guy dressed in a full-body unicorn costume robbed a convenience store in Baltimore on Saturday. He used a crowbar to smash the register, stole money and cigarettes, and jumped in a Hyundai Elantra driven by his accomplice. But they lost control, hit a tree, and got arrested. The guy who was wearing the unicorn costume is still in the hospital in serious condition. Here's a police spokesperson and a local laughing all about this thing.
Our officers began responding, and they were given details that the suspect was dressed as a unicorn and armed with a crowbar. It was traveling at a very high rate of speed. Ultimately, when they tried to catch up to it, the car was involved in a single vehicle crash.
They really went to great lengths to mask their identity, obviously. See a lot of horses, but I don't really see a lot of unicorns around here.
The suspect using a unicorn mask or being dressed as a unicorn is certainly unique and not something that we encounter every day.
All right. Well, a British guy named Ben Loomis was so obsessed with Michael Jackson in his day that he changed his name to John Michael Jackson 4 years ago. He also says he spent millions of dollars over the past 25 years of Michael Jackson memorabilia and trips. But now he wants to change his name back because of all the allegations in the new documentary. He also thinks it's preventing him from getting a job in the care industry. Where'd he come up with all these millions and all of that?
My name is John Michael Jackson. In light of the recent allegations that have come into the news and the documentary Leaving Neverland, I'm desperately trying to change my name so I can try to get a job back in the care industry. My original birth name was Ben Lomas. What made me change my name to Michael Jackson? I was a very big fan, a lifelong fan, and at the time I thought it was maybe a nice tribute to him. I used to be a huge Michael Jackson fan. My first concert was the History Tour back in '97, which turned out to be the last time he ever played in this country as well. From then I collected everything, dolls, memorabilia.
All right. Well, do. In the Twilight Zone there. A cow escaped from a slaughterhouse in New York yesterday afternoon and ended up blocking traffic for miles on the Bronx Highway. Not something that the New Yorkers interviewed on local news were used to seeing, of course. And a policeman eventually captured it. And now he gets to live out his days or it's the rest of his life, at an animal sanctuary in New Jersey. You know, after it's on the news there, you can't take it right back to the slaughterhouse.
I'm very confused because I don't know how the cow gets to the road. You know, that's very strange.
Surprised because you usually see accidents over here, like car accidents and stuff, but you never see like an actual cow running up and down. He was kicking and stuff, and at one point they got him as calm as now. He was still like breathing hard.
Okay. Hey, an employee at Arby's in Florida finished his shift on Saturday and wanted to go home, but his manager told him he had to stay late. Then she overheard him complaining about it and turned into a shouting match, and she pepper sprayed him, chased him with a knife, and scratched up his car. She's been charged with assault.
I tell the other manager, so I'm leaving because I'm done with my part. I say it's not fair. She's more than lazy. She's more than lazy. Only thing she did, just eat and then stay on the phone. And then she comes, she say, what you say? I say, who you calling? And then come over here, I'm gonna kill you. When I turn, I see her run after me with a knife. She did all this with the knife. I was scared.
Yeah, okay, man. Yeah, there was a crew that came out here that AT&T hired. They got a cell tower up on our tower, and they had these guys from Jamaica on to come and climb the tower. Well, they found out it was an AM radio station. And they go, oh man, the tower's hot. If you touch it, it hurts. Of course, they hadn't touched it yet. And I said, I won't, and I'm not going to expect you to do anything I'm not willing to do. So I went over there and said, you see, I'm standing on the ground, so I am grounding myself, which you never do on the radio tower. And then now I'm going to grab it. And I grabbed it. And I said, you see, it doesn't hurt. And I can feel that heat building up in my hand. Let go. It doesn't hurt so bad if you're off the ground. That's the key. I said, just don't be grounded. You will be fine. And with that demonstration, they climbed the tower for like 3 or 4 days. They were up there. And did what they had to do. So I told them, I said, I'm not cutting the tower off. I'm not going out of business because you show up. But here it is. I'll do what I'm actually, I'll grab it first. How's that sound? And I did. But you immediately feel the tingle, I can tell you that. McDonald's don't do this, boys and girls, at home. I'm serious about that. You grab a wrong tower, it will pop you bad. It'll burn a big second-degree burn right there on your hand if you don't know what you're doing. McDonald's teamed up with Lazy Boy to create a McDonald's-themed couch. It's called the McDelivery Couch. And it has 4 recycling seats, 2 McFlurry coolers built into the center consoles, and light-up cup holders, and built-in phone charger. But in order to get it, you have to win it through Uber Eats.
It's the McDelivery Couch, packed with the perfect nagging features, like a built-in phone charger to power your McDelivery on Uber Eats orders, and McFlurry chillers to keep your McFlurry nice and...
What do you say, McFlurry? What is this thing? How do I make it mine?
By entering the McDelivery Sweepstakes. Tell us the McDonald's menu items you want Uber Eats to deliver to the McDelivery Couch, and tag #McDelivery Sweepstakes at Uber Eats and at McDonald's for the chance to win the best seat in the house from Lazy Boy.
Do these cup holders light up?
My life.
Oh. No staying in this couch game?
You realize you haven't won the couch yet, right?
Fine.
Okay, I'm going to digress a little bit. John Zimo's coming up at 8:30 this morning with the Zoom Alt Extended Zone, and I don't want to get to a matter that was in our news this morning, and that was the county commissioners. The pilot reported that the county commissioners reversed themselves on covering the $2.68 million cost overrun on a new elementary school in Southern Pines. All right, to bring you up to running speed. You got this new elementary school they got to build over there on the overpriced land they bought over there off of Morganton Road. They paid about 30% more than it's worth just to get it. That was the first error. Second error was they put it out for bids, and it comes back, and in this case, Clancy and Thays got the low bid. And now with one, it comes down to accepting the bid, and Clancy and Thays comes and says, oh, we had a mathematical error, we're withdrawing our bid. Now, we have a guy named John Blythe, who works for Moore County Schools. He's the, quote, operations director. Now, this bid has been sitting on his desk. When they put a bid in, they put a bond with it, a performance bond with it, anywhere from 5 to 10% of the cost of the project. So if this is a $30 million school, $5 million is, $1.5 million is the bond, if it's a 5% bond. And if someone doesn't perform, like go through and build the thing, then you're entitled to some of that money for your expenses, unless there's a mathematical error. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky, so follow me here. So Clancy and Thays puts in a bid of $29.9 million. We'll say $30 million just to round it up. And Monmouth Construction put in a bid for $31 million. Now, first of all, that's mighty close on a bid. Keep in mind, on the first of these three schools that's getting under construction, all the bidders were within $2,000 of each other, which it just doesn't happen. But nobody smells they're being played like they are by these construction companies. So anyway, Clancy and Thays puts in their bid of $30 million and comes up in the last moment and says, oh, we made a mathematical error, we're withdrawing our bid, and then we got to go bid on a different project over here, and we can't do two schools at the same time, or two projects at the same time. So they pull out, and that leaves Monmouth Construction Company. Monmouth says, oh, you got to pay us with your extras that you added, $2.8 million more above what we bid, and in order for us to take that bid. But remember, we got another bid we're going to submit this afternoon somewhere else, so you will let us another day or we're out too. So you have no time to think. Now, if this bid, and then it's in the power today that John Braff, Moore County Schools Operations Director, checked the bid and solved the mathematical error. Well, what the hell you been doing for the last several months, John? Been sitting on your desk. You claim to be the operations director. You should have gone over these bids with a fine-tooth comb long before now and picked up the mathematical error that was probably deliberately laid in there so that the contractor could pull out if he so chose. And why didn't you pick up on that? You know, this thing just stinks. John Braff came, I believe, from Johnson County, and Nick Personas told me, said this in public. I sit there and heard him say it back when he was on the school board. I'm not the school board, but the county commissioners. And said, as long as John Braff said working for the school board, he says there won't be one penny coming that way for a school. Because he checked on him in Johnson County. They were glad to get rid of him. I may be wrong on the Johnson County, but I don't think I am. But anyway, you ask Nick about that, what he thinks of John. He'll tell you. Because he did the background check. Unlike the school board, evidently. So anyway, he's been on his desk for I don't know how many months, these bids, and all of a sudden now he goes and checks the math to say, oh yes, they did make a math error. I guarantee you that was already there, planned to be there, just in case they needed an out clause. And as John Zumwalt pointed out last week or a week before, that this requires, if you put in a bid and a bond, and if you want it back, it requires by law a hearing within 5 days, a public hearing, which never happened. So I want to know why, I want to know if the school, if those companies deliberately put those errors in there. I would go through Monmouth Construction Company with a fine-tooth comb and see if they got one in there that they could have exercised had they chose to. But somebody's not doing the job on our side or their side. We're getting played here and we're getting screwed out of a lot of money. And I'll applaud the county commissioners for going back and saying, you know, school board, you find that money. We're not going over the limit of what we promised the voters. So I'll applaud them for that. But a lot of balls are being dropped here, and somebody better get on top of it. Our savior over there at the school board, Dr. Grimacy, should have been on top of it, but he's not. It all falls in his footstep. He hired this guy. And I just fear to think how much he's getting paid. I guarantee it's over $100,000, but I do not know that for a fact. And people anyway getting up in that upper crust of money there with full benefits need to be doing their job. This bid was sitting there, he should have checked every square inch of it by now, other than the bottom line of it. Because there are a lot of things in a bid. They'll say, okay, we bid $1 million, and when they get to grading, they say this is based on an estimated 100 million cubic yards of dirt being moved at X amount of dollars per yard. And then when they actually do the calculation, the engineer goes out, they say, well, they moved 1,100,000 cubic yards. Well, then you owe them extra money. And that's what you got to dig into these bids to figure out if you're being played here. And I think it also, it just smells. It just smells real bad. And nobody will come out and admit it, except me, it seems like, that it smells bad. Something's going on, and I think the school board should ask the district attorney to ask for a look-see by the SBI to make sure they didn't play us. Because we'd do a whole lot of money if they did. And somebody needs to be going to jail if they did. They did this crap up there with the paving companies in Raleigh. 8 pavers ended up going to jail for just playing these types of games. Now they're being played again. And it needs to stop. It was just too daggone convenient for this to happen. Anyway, we'll see what John has to say about it at 8:30. I don't know what his topic is today, but we'll see if he has any comment about it. All right, it is 7:53. Let's proceed on with some lighter stuff. How about a pigeon for sale for $1.4 million? Someone just paid that. It's a champion Belgian racing pigeon named Armando. And the winning bidder was an anonymous buyer from, you guessed it, China, where long-distance pigeon racing is a big deal. They plan to breed it, and here's the previous owner talking about all of Armando's amazing achievements and how he refused to retire him for breeding.
In 2017, Armando was one of the best pigeons in Belgium. He won third national ace pigeon, KWDB, and also second national Limoges. After the season 2017, people like Habby van den Abele and Gino Click advised me to stop racing Armando and put him in the breeding class. But we say no to do that.
Hope you got more out of that than I did. A competitive eater, well, he tried a new challenge. He tried the Pop Rocks Challenge. He tried to eat a bowl filled with 350 packs of Pop Rocks with a microphone right next to his mouth so he could hear the action. But it's only got, he only got about a third of the way through before he quit.
All right, guys, so here we go. This is the $700 Pop Rocks Challenge. Over 7 pounds, 14,000 calories. We're starting this challenge. 3, 2, 1, and start. When I close my mouth, it sounds like it's raining in my head. It's so taste horrible. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not sorry. There's no way.
Okay, he said 14,000 calories in those 350 packs. Gracious. You got to eat in 7 minutes for $700. I guess some things just aren't worth it. My good news story this morning. A restaurant in Illinois was short-staffed on Saturday, so one of the waitresses called her dad to ask if he'd be a busboy for a day. Her dad also happens to be a recently retired Harvard-trained cardiologist, but he said yes, and 5 minutes after he started working, an elderly woman started choking on her meal. So he applied the Heimlich maneuver 3 times and saved her life. Here's the waitress, the doc, and other workers.
Just because he's had the time on his hands. He's been around the house and not doing a whole lot.
Retired physician and busboy.
I said, this is not funny, but I was just thinking, I was like, what happens if there's some medical event and he just happened to be here on this night? And we were all kind of like laughing and jest about it.
He wasn't here more than 5 minutes with his apron on. The woman sitting right where you are was choking on some food, and she wasn't really able to move air. She wasn't able to cough. She wasn't able to speak. Did the Heimlich maneuver, which is abdominal thrusts, where you put your fist like this and bring it up abruptly. We did that 2 or 3 times, and then she was able to clear the object.
And I kind of go back in my mind and think about if he wasn't here, how would that have turned out? What would the outcome be? So I'm just so lucky my dad was here that night.
And the most prestigious prize in math just went to a woman for the first time. She's a 76-year-old professor at the University of Texas named Karen Uhlenbeck, and she says she's lucky because she never had a problem being a woman in the math world, but other people have.
By the time I was applying for a job in 1968, I could get a job as a postdoc in a reasonably ordinary fashion. And when it came on to go on, there were many places that did not hire women, but there were universities that hired women and were happy to have them. And I was lucky enough to be in the group of women who were in this period of time. I think if I'd been 5 years older, I wouldn't have made it. Now, I don't think that that's true anymore. I think the difference is immense. I worry a lot about other minorities because I know what it was like being on the outside looking in, and I think there are still people who are on the outside of mathematics looking in who are capable of being great mathematicians.
All right, well, congrats to her on the prestigious math prize. All right, it's coming up on 8 o'clock. We're going to check on all your latest news, sports, and weather. Currently here in the Sand Hills, we're looking at cloudy skies, 36 degrees, humidity 70%, dew point 27. Pressure is 30-27, winds north at 5, visibility wide open at 10 statute miles. Here's your forecast.
Today, our temperatures will stay socked in the mid-40s. By this afternoon, you'll notice spotty showers creeping into the area. Otherwise, rain will pick up for us tonight, leading into tomorrow morning and then clearing out. Highs on Thursday will feature in the upper 50s. We are looking at a dry end to the work week. I'm meteorologist Peter Sherwood in the Weather Center.
Broadcasting from the top of the North Carolina Sand Hills, 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 PM, WEEB, Southern Pines, Pinehurst, Aberdeen.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Flood-stricken parts of the Midwest, not out of the woods yet. More rain is in the forecast across several states. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds says one city in southwest Iowa especially hard hit.
I sat with the people in Hamburg who have lost 2/3 of their town to floodwaters. Their water and sewer facilities have been compromised, and the destruction to the ag community just in that small area alone is devastating.
Vice President Pence, who toured the flood zone yesterday, says federal disaster aid will be forthcoming quickly. Preparing for the wildfire season in California. CAL FIRE personnel running a wood chipper as they clear away dead wood that could feed the flames of a wildfire.
What we're doing is we're treating the ridgeline by reducing the impact a fire might have.
CAL FIRE Battalion Chief Mike Matheson. After 3 days, a fire at a chemical storage facility southeast of Houston is finally out, but the massive plume of heavy dark smoke released by the burning chemicals at the tank farm is still evident, and that worries residents of Deer Park. Will American troops be going to Venezuela? President Trump not ruling it out.
All options are open. I think of all possibilities, all options are open. We'll see what happens.
Mr. Trump calling Venezuela's socialist president a Cuban puppet, saying that Nicolas Maduro has got to go. Boeing is pledging cooperation with an investigation into how the FAA certified its 737 MAX 8 jetliner. The Transportation Department's Inspector General will look into the certification process after 2 MAX 8s crashed within 5 months. On Wall Street this hour, stock futures are higher. Dow futures up about 25 points. NASDAQ futures better by 7, and S&P futures up 1 point. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, this is Fred Dwyer, former Rams defensive end. Football season just ended, and you can bet teams are already hard at work scouting new talent for next season. But if you're running a small business, you need to know where to go to find top recruits. LinkedIn, it's where people go every day to make connections, grow in their careers, and discover new job opportunities. LinkedIn Jobs takes the time to learn more about who you're looking for and then recommends the qualified candidates you want to spend time talking to make a quality hire you're excited about. Customers rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires, and posting your job on LinkedIn gives you the best chance of finding and starting a conversation with your next star recruit. It's no surprise a new hire is made every 8 seconds using LinkedIn. So build your winning team by posting your job opportunity on LinkedIn and visit linkedin.com/solution. Get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/solution. Terms and conditions apply.
Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison issuing a formal protest to the Turkish ambassador about what he calls deeply offensive remarks by Turkey's president following the mosque shootings in New Zealand.
At a rally this week commemorating the Gallipoli campaign of 1915, when Ottoman soldiers defeated British-led forces, including Australians and New Zealanders, President Erdogan was on typically combative form. "Your grandparents came here and returned in coffins," he thundered, warning those with anti-Muslim sentiments, "We will send you back like your grandfathers." That prompted fury from Australia's Prime Minister. Facing a tight local election in 10 days, it is vintage Erdogan whipping up his conservative religious support base.
The BBC's Mark Lowen. India's government says several naval ships have been diverted to Mozambique's port city of Beira after much of the city of 500,000 was destroyed by a tropical cyclone. News and analysis at townhall.com. Speculation, the special counsel's report could be imminent.
The Brookings Institution's Elaine Kmart says after nearly 2 years, special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russia election meddling could be winding up.
We're pretty much at the end.
She adds,
there was a rapid string of indictments, trials, etc. It's possible that one or more of the president's children or in-laws could get indicted.
Mueller's final report could be anticlimactic. House Democrats have started 2 separate committee investigations of Trump and his administration, and more could be coming. And after more than a year of blasting the investigation as a witch hunt, the administration sources say if Mueller's report is underwhelming, Trump will use it as part of his 2020 campaign. Tim McGuire, Washington.
And on Wall Street this hour, Dow futures up 21.5 points. NASDAQ futures better by 5. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Building a new home or thinking about changing your existing floors? Aberdeen Carpet can show you the latest flooring trends that will fit your budget and lifestyle. Flooring is what we do every day. Visit Aberdeen Carpet's large showroom and discount warehouse filled with an extensive inventory, ready for immediate pickup. We offer expert advice, competitive pricing, and a huge selection. Located on Highway 5 in Aberdeen near the Habitat for Humanity store. Open Monday through Friday 9 to 5 and Saturdays 9 to 4. Call 944-6204. Or go online to aberdeencarpet.com.
Most people dread going to the dentist, but not at Sandhills Weekend Dental. Here's Michael from Whispering Pines.
I met Dr. Terry and Sam's about 9 months ago when I had an emergency. Prior to that, which makes this amazing, is I haven't been to the dentist in 12 years. I had some really bad experiences when I was growing up as a young boy, but when I went in there, I clearly was nervous. I had a lot of fear, but Dr. Sam's and her staff put me at ease, took me in, reviewed what we thought we had going on there, and just talked to me in a way that I felt like she really wasn't going to hurt me, which was a big fear that I had for the last 12 years. And I'm really happy to tell everyone I can brush and floss, and I can eat, kiss, and smile better.
Sandhills Weekend Dental on Highway 211 just past Harris Teeter. Open Wednesday through Friday 9 to 4 and Saturday 9 to 2. Call for an appointment at 910-687-4423. 687-4423.
This is Hand On Golf, live at the PGA Merchandise Show in Orlando, Florida. I'm talking with
Michael Mahoney, Vice President of Golf Ball Marketing for Titleist.
Mike is going to tell us all about the new Pro V1 that they just introduced.
So we're thrilled to launch the new Pro V1 this year. The new 2019 Pro V1 and Pro V1X deliver more consistency, more precision, and more speed. We talked to golfers going as far back as 2 years ago about what they were looking to improve. They asked us to deliver a golf ball that was longer and faster without changing any of the flight, feel, and spin characteristics that they love about Pro V1 and Pro V1X. So we did that by reformulating the core, thickening the casing layer, and making the cover a little bit thinner. The other exciting news, we're launching both of them in yellow, which is new for Titleist at Pro V1 and Pro V1X. We're excited about that. We think the golf balls are great. They've already been played all over the world, and PGA Tour players have won both on the PGA Tour in Australia with them, so we're excited about them.
Thank you, Mike. I look forward to playing the new yellow Pro V1. Available at Golf Augusta on Highway 1 in Southern Pines.
I'm an official sounding scientist, and I'm here for a comfort experiment. We're going to recreate the way your home heating system works in your car. Crank up your heat, blast it at your face. Starting to break a sweat? This is central heating. A Mitsubishi Electric Zone comfort solution with hyperheating allows you to get just the right amount of heat exactly where you need it. Fast. No cold drafts. It's comfort made personal. This concludes our little comfort experiment.
Four Seasons Heating and Air, the company that wants you to get comfortable with them. Voted Best of the Pines for 2018.
NCN News. I'm Mike Rayleigh. Democratic lawmakers at the General Assembly are joining the so-called Fight for 15, proposing a 5-year process to get the state's minimum wage to $15 an hour. State Senator Floyd McKissick of Durham.
We know that it's been more than a decade, since 2009, since the minimum wage was last raised, and that was up to $7.25 an hour.
A General Assembly committee has approved a ban on paneling of students in public schools. All of the state's public school districts already have such a restriction, but this would make it a law, and they couldn't change the policy. State Representative Linda Johnson of Cabarrus County says,
This is not a bill we decided today. This is a goal we started to work on about 6 years ago, 8 years ago.
Former Vice President Joe Biden could be on the brink of announcing a run for the White House. CBS News political correspondent Ed O'Keefe reports.
Biden starts phoning donors. Top aides are starting to interview potential staffers, and all signs still point to an announcement at some point in mid-April.
Police say they've arrested a Maricopa, Arizona woman and her 2 adult sons for abusing the woman's 7 adopted children, all apparently for the sake of YouTube revenue. More from correspondent Vicki Barker.
The kids told police they hadn't been to school for years. When they weren't being filmed for their adoptive mother's YouTube channel, they said they were being beaten, abused, pepper sprayed if they forgot their lines, locked in a closet without food or sanitation for days at a time.
19 people were arrested in Alamance County for dealing drugs as part of the Operation Spring Cleaning. Alamance County Sheriff Terry Johnson says,
what is so alarming about these individuals that were arrested here today, 2 of those were arrested in phase 1, got out, and continued to deal drugs to our kids and citizens here in Alamance County.
Alamance County Sheriff Terry Johnson. You're listening to NCN News.
Who is the North Carolina High School Athletic Association?
We are over 200,000 student athletes.
We are dedicated educators, coaches, and mentors.
We are your neighbors and friends that put on the striped shirts and officiate the games you love every week.
We are 417-member high schools from small towns and big cities, anywhere from Murphy to Manteo.
We are making a difference and building leaders of communities for the next generation.
Who are we?
We are high school.
We are the NCHSAA.
The
new FN 509 midsize 9mm pistol is now part of FN's legendary concealed carry lineup, and it is a natural fit. With its smaller grip frame modeled after the battle-proven million rounds tested FN 509, the FN 509 midsize comes with two 15-round magazines and naturally improves concealability. Available at your local firearms dealer. FN, the world's most battle-proven firearms.
Some key North Carolina House Republicans are floating a plan to set aside billions of tax dollars for public education and state agency construction and for rural broadband without additional debt. Budget Chairman Dean Arp of Monroe and Jason Sain of Lincoln, among others, filed the bill on Tuesday. A father and son were laid to rest on Wednesday as the first of dozens of funerals for the victims of two New Zealand mosque shootings got underway.
The many sad farewells have begun. The first to be laid to rest, a father and his 14-year-old son. They were placed in grave sites next to each other. People attending the funerals were emotional.
I'm so sad inside. It's so difficult for us.
The father and son and their entire family came here last year from Syria. They chose Christ Church because they thought they'd be safe. Their death, says this woman, were so unnecessary.
They were not doing anything. They were not harming anybody.
Steve Futterman, CBS News, Christchurch, New Zealand.
Ex-Representative Robert Pittenger confirmed Tuesday he backs former Mecklenburg County Commissioner Matthew Ridenour, one of 10 candidates running in May's Republican primary in the 9th District. Estimates of the damage to public infrastructure, homes, and businesses from the historic flooding soared to more than $524 million just in Nebraska. Don Daler spoke with farmers there.
Director of Agriculture in Nebraska, Steve Wellman, says the extensive damage to roads and bridges will affect consumers across the country.
30% of our products from Nebraska are exported each year. You're looking at a delay, if nothing else, of getting product from Nebraska to the consumers.
Back on the Albert farm, insurance will cover some, but not all, of the costs. They hope to be able to sell pigs again by next year.
If you know most people around here, you're going to pick up, you're going to start all over and go from there.
Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
Clouds will pick up for us as we go into the afternoon hours. Temperatures will top in the mid-40s across the area. We'll notice spotty showers picking up once we get into this afternoon and this evening. Rain will continue for us going into the overnight hours leading into tomorrow morning before we see some clearing conditions. Highs by tomorrow will top in the mid-50s. I'm meteorologist Peter Sherwood in the Weather Center.
Right now here in the Sand Hills area, we're looking at partly cloudy skies, 36 degrees, humidity 67%, dew point 26, pressure 3027. Winds north of 5, visibility is at 10 statute miles. It's 8:13. Let's take a look at your Sand Hills news for this Wednesday hump day. The Power reporting this morning that the county commissioners have reversed themselves on covering a $2.68 million cost overrun on a new elementary school in Southern Pines. They unanimously adopted a resolution last night directing the board to take all necessary measures to complete 3 new elementary schools within the $103 million that the voters authorized in May of 2018 in a referendum, rather than reallocate additional funding. In other school construction matters, commissioners voted to hold a public hearing at their April 16th meeting on seeking approval from the North Carolina Local Government Commission to borrow up to $16.5 million for an auxiliary gym, additional classrooms, and other improvements at Northmore High School. And just in time for the county to sell bonds to fund the project later this week, the Moore County Board of Education approved $30.3 million construction contract on Monday for a new elementary school in Morganton North Park North. The project will be the third 800-student K-5 school that the county has under construction, and the second funded with general obligation bonds approved by Moore County voters last May. Slated to open in the fall of 2020, it will combine the populations of the current Southern Pines Primary and Southern Pines Elementary schools. A similar school off of NC5 in Aberdeen, which also designed to replace 2 existing schools at the same time next fall, has been under construction since November. With its vote on Monday, the school board has 2 weeks later than it initially planned in selecting a contractor for the Southern Pines project. Monmouth Construction was the second lowest bidder of the 5 that submitted proposals for the project last month. Monmouth originally bid nearly $31 million, well over the $29.9 million low bid from Clancy and Faye's construction company. But on March 4th, the same day, the school board was scheduled to approve the contract with Clancy and Faye's. The company withdrew its bid, citing a miscalculation in its proposal. John Blythe, Moore County Schools Operation Director, said he confirmed the $1.4 million error last week. And awarding the contract to Monmouth Construction on Monday, the school board declared the original low bidder unresponsive. That's your latest Sand Hills news this morning. Stand by. Here comes all your latest in sports right here on Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM. WEEB, it's 816.
NCN Sports, I'm Josh Zach. 2-seed North Carolina State. They hosted Hofstra last night in Reynolds Coliseum in the first round of the NIT. Markel Johnson had 26 points as Wolfpack defeated Hofstra 84-78. Head coach Kevin Keats.
I thought our guys did a tremendous job responding. Just like anything else, when you don't make because we put so much emphasis on making the big dance, when you don't make it, that's a tough thing, especially when you talk about 19, 20, 21-year-old guys. And these guys, I thought they came out and they responded. They gave me an honest, hard work yesterday in practice, and it paid off. And we're excited. We're excited to move on. Our focus has completely changed. We're playing for a championship, and that's what we want.
The Wolfpack next will face the winner of the Harvard-Georgetown game on Sunday at 7:30. Also in action last night, 1-seed UNC Greensboro playing 8-seed Campbell. The Spartans winners at home 84-69, while 4-seed Davidson on their home court were surprised by Lipscomb 89-81. NC Central set to make its third consecutive NCAA tournament appearance tonight when the Eagles take on North Dakota State at the First Four in Dayton. It's the fourth time in the last 6 years that Central has made it to the field of 68. Coach Lavelle Moten says they're still looking for their first win.
We've become a victim of our own success, so to speak. We've been fortunate and blessed to win some tournaments, and the next thing we have to do when you move up that ladder is accomplish the next step. And now we got our work cut out for us, and we got to win an NCAA game.
The winner of tonight's game will play Duke Friday in Columbia, South Carolina. On the pro court last night, former Blue Devil J.J. Redick had 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists for Philadelphia as the 76ers beat the Hornets 118-114 in Charlotte. On the ice, Dougie Hamilton scored in the shootout. Peter Mrazek stopped Pittsburgh cold, and the Hurricanes beat the Penguins 3-2. This is NCN Sports.
This just in, a brand new Stoneville cotton variety has just been released. ST5600B2XF features a good fiber package, root knot nematode resistance, and it's dicamba tolerant so you can spray Ingenia herbicide to control glyphosate-resistant pigweed. You're always looking for more ROI per acre. That's smart, and that's Stoneville. Talk with your local representative or retailer about new ST5600B2XF. Grow smart with BASF.
Ingenia herbicide is a U.S. EPA restricted use pesticide. Additional state restrictions may apply. Always read and follow label directions.
State lawmakers are cranking up a new legislative session. Everything's on the table. The budget, education, transportation, regulation. What are they doing, and how is it affecting you, your family, your business, your wallet? Carolina Journal helps you find answers. Available each month as a free newspaper. Every day online at carolinajournal.com. Carolina Journal, your #1 source for government news that affects you. Visit carolinajournal.com today.
The NCAA men's college basketball tournament underway with the First Four in Dayton. Fairleigh Dickinson rallied to win its first ever tournament game, taking down Prairie View A&M 82-76. In the other opener, Belmont toppled Temple 81-70. Did you get those in your bracket? Sports betting, it's illegal in most states. Technically, that includes most of those office pool brackets, but sports attorney Dan Wallach says as long as you keep it low-key, no one's likely to get in any trouble.
Just one word to the wise, don't do this over the internet, and don't collect a VIG or a fee for running the office pool. If it's just a friends and family pool within the office, nobody is going to care.
Wallach says the NCAA tournament is the largest bettable sports event in the nation, bigger than the Super Bowl. He estimates just under $9 billion will be wagered. Whew. Josh Zach, NCN Sports.
Serving more people, more places, 24/7. If your AC breaks down, we'll restore your indoor heaven. Installation or repair, one call will be there. It's your family, don't delay.
Services in Aberdeen to get a free estimate on a new Carrier system or heat pump, and you may qualify for a rebate up to $2,000 from Carrier. Get in on the savings and purchase a qualifying heating or cooling product before the Cool Cash rebate ends June 30th. You may also qualify for financing options as well. Stop into Comfort Services on Highway 5 next to the Habitat store in Aberdeen, or call 910-695-2665. Carrier and Comfort Services, a great team.
Comfort's just a call away. Comfort Services.
I think we can all agree, weekends are delicious. Well, your weekend just got more delicious. The Hickory Tavern is now serving brunch on Saturdays and Sundays from 11 to 2, with several entrees to choose from. Baked omelet filled with sautéed peppers and onions, tomato and goat cheese, and topped with bacon crumble and sour cream. The Tower of Power beefy blueberry pancakes, avocado toast, fresh sliced avocado and tomato salsa piled on sourdough toast and topped with balsamic reduction, candied banana and walnut French toast, mini squares, and last but definitely not least, the Chicken Waffle Witch, a Belgian waffle with hand-breaded chicken breast with maple sausage gravy. Each entree comes with a side of bacon. Wash it down with a shareable jumbo mimosa, carafe, or Bloody Mary. Get out of the box and into the Hickory Tavern for brunch, Saturdays and Sundays from 11 to 2.
Here's another happy patient at Sandhills Weekend Dental in West End.
Hi there, my name is Gary, and I'm a dental avoider-aholic, which means I avoid going to the dentist because of a deep-rooted fear of dentists that I've had since the early 50s when I was a child. Recently, that entire avoidance fear that is deep-rooted has been smashed when I met the staff and dentist, Dr. Terry Ann Sanders. She did an amazing job to make me feel comfortable and confident with the approach that we were going to take together, figuring out what's going to work best for me and my budget and for me and my oral hygiene.
Sandhills Weekend Dental on Highway 211 just past Harris Teeter. Open Wednesday through Friday 9 to 4, Saturday 9 to 2. Call 910-687-4423. 687-4423.
Eat, kiss, and smile better.
I think we can all agree, weekends are delicious. Well, your weekend just got more delicious. The Hickory Tavern is now serving brunch on Saturdays and Sundays from 11 to 2, with several entrees to choose from. Baked omelet filled with sautéed peppers and onions, tomato and goat cheese, and topped with bacon crumble and sour cream. The Tower of Power beefy blueberry pancakes, avocado toast, fresh sliced avocado and tomato salsa piled on sourdough toast and topped with balsamic reduction, candied banana and walnut French toast, mini squares, and last but definitely not least, the Chicken Waffle Witch, a Belgian waffle with hand-breaded chicken breast with maple sausage gravy. Each entree comes with a side of bacon. Wash it down with a shareable jumbo mimosa, carafe, or Bloody Mary. Get out of the box and into the Hickory Tavern for brunch, Saturdays and Sundays from 11 to 2.
Hello, I'm John Zumwalt, and you're in the Zumwalt Zone. There's been a relatively big item in the news the last few days that really surprises me. The facts of the case don't surprise me. What surprises me is that it's news. In Alabama last Wednesday, a lady and her boyfriend were involved in a domestic violence incident. Wait a minute, am I supposed to say alleged? In the parking lot of a gas station, someone called the cops and the police found drugs in her car. Here's what made it reportable as national news. The lady was the mother of, no, not the valedictorian of the local high school. What made this thing so amazing was she was the mother of Honey Boo Boo. I feel stupid even uttering those words. I saw that show once. I did not say to myself, I'll tell you what, I'll be shocked if anyone in that family does poorly. Come to think of it, I don't know how much money that family made, but if it was enough, you may soon be reading about Honey Boo Boo being enrolled in an Ivy League college. I don't want to make too much fun of Honey Boo Boo. I'm thankful there wasn't a camera crew following my family around when I was a little kid. But the real news should have been every day until this arrest was made. The headline should have read, "Another day goes by without Honey Boo Boo family getting arrested." I often do wonder what makes news, especially in Moore County. I hope all of you have a great day. From the Zumwalt Zone.
Today, our temperatures will stay socked in the mid-40s. By this afternoon, you'll notice spotty showers creeping into the area. Otherwise, rain will pick up for us tonight, leading into tomorrow morning and then clearing out. Highs on Thursday will feature in the upper 50s. We are looking at a dry end to the work week. I'm meteorologist Peter Sherwood in the Weather Center.
And now, the Sandhills' #1 morning show. Mornings with the Leader Man. Here on Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM WEEB. And heard and seen around the world at talk973.com.
The best part of waking up is waking up with us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Time to celebrate Hump Day. Wednesday is Hump Day. The term Hump Day.
Don't be offensive.
Too early to know for sure. Too early to say.
No offense. No offense.
Don't get your panties in a bunch.
Don't get your panties in a bunch.
And just say it.
It's Wednesday. And what else?
Oh, yeah.
It's showtime. Lay back and mellow. Ain't in no hurry at all. Sunning and
Good morning, Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, 990 AM, WEEB. Welcome back to the most listened to program in all of the Sandhills. It is Mornings with the Leader Man. I am Steve Leader Adams, and don't forget, of course, this program being seen around the world on our live video stream. That's available to you at talk973.com. Top middle of the page is where the link's located. And if you're on a mobile device, you can get to it with your YouTube app. Put Mornings with the Leader Man in there. Also, if you're on your mobile device, just need the audio stream. That's available with many streaming services like TuneIn, iTunes, Streama, many others will play it. Alexa will do it. Google Assist will do it. iTunes does it. Just put WEEB into those searches. And, of course, if you're on our website at talk973.com, upper right-hand corner of every web page has an icon that says, on the air, listen live. Click that once and you're listening just that quick. Weather for us today here in the Sandhills area. Things are going to cloud up as the day progresses. Rain will start later today with a high of 46. And tonight, rain likely, a low of 41. Rain pushes out during the overnight. We'll be left behind with a little drizzle in the morning under cloudy skies. That'll start to break apart, go partly cloudy by afternoon. Look for a high of 60. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy, 42. Friday, sunny with 64 for a high. Copy and paste that on to Saturday and Sunday. Mostly sunny with a high of 69. Right now around the Sandhills, winds to north of 5, visibility 10 statute miles. Pressure is 3027, dew point 26. Humidity 67%. It's partly cloudy, 36 degrees. Currently here at Talk 97.3 FM, 104.1 FM, and 990 AM WEEB. All right, it is 8:28 past the hour on this Wednesday hump day. And when it's hump day, that means it's time for John Zumwalt's extended Zumwalt zone. And John's got a special guest this morning, Mitch Williamson, who is an involved parent with the school system here. And John, it's all yours.
Thank you, Steve. Before we bring Mitch in, let me say a couple of words. First, this is meant to be a discussion. Everything we've talked about with the superintendent, it's not a call for his head, it's not a call for a recall vote for the school board members. It's meant to be a civil discussion about these facts and about issues that concern parents. It's my belief that up to now, people have been afraid to speak out. For the last several months, I've gotten so many calls and emails and texts, just people that had questions like, why is this being allowed to happen? And I've hesitated to bring it up. In fact, I waited until after everything that the school board had asked for, the bond, and we've talked about all these things. They've gotten everything they wanted all along the way. And as you know, the thing that really brought this to a head was last week when Dr. Bob unilaterally went to the county commissioners and asked for $3.68 or $2.68 million more dollars because the low bidder backed out. Now, I've said several times that this is not, he doesn't have the authority to do this. And someone asked me, well, so you're saying that's illegal? I want to make sure that we define this. Dr. Bob is not going to be sitting in prison next to a convicted murderer. It's not that kind of offense. Rather, it's, I think he is definitely violating what state law says. However, even if he's not, you have to ask yourself, school board members, if you're listening, are you comfortable with your with your employees going before the county commissioners and asking for $2.68 million? And if you are you comfortable with them asking for $5 million or $10 million? Or what if they go up there and ask for a new school? We elected you guys to be the supervisors and to look at these things and assure us that, yes, nothing happens that we don't know about, and we approve all these things, as opposed to having someone just force these things through. Now, Mitchell will agree with me when he comes on here in a minute, I feel certain. We don't want to become a mob. We don't want to force anything because of mob rule. We merely want the rule of law as well as the spirit of the law to be enforced when it comes to school board matters. And I was very encouraged to hear Steve's first news item that the commissioners are going to make sure that the school board stays within, and I should say Dr. Bob, because he's really running things, stays within that $103 million bond that we voted on. The last thing I want to say before we bring Mitch in is that I'm still looking into the contract. I've asked John Barath, I've called him 4 times total, and asked for the contracts and everything related to them, and he left me a message that he will get it to me, and I have no reason to believe that he won't. And when he does, I'm speaking with an attorney in Raleigh, and it's costing no one any money except myself, and I'll let that attorney take a look at it, and we'll get back with you to see. He's advised me that he doesn't believe that one person has the authority to make a ruling that they don't lose their bid bond. And we aren't talking about a bid bond here that requires a contractor to pull up a certain amount of money, and if they back out of the bid, then they have to pay that money to us, and it's well over $1 million. As far as I can tell, the school board has not pursued that, and if they have, they've kept it from being public. All right, enough from me. We've got Mitch Williamson here with us today. Mitch, the reason that what caught my eye or my ear about you, and I'm very, very glad to have you here this morning, was that you kind of, among parents that have has questions, I'll put it that way, about some of the things that Dr. Bob is doing. And we're not here this morning to condemn him or to hang him, but rather we are here really for the first period of time in the last couple of weeks. We've just started this new thing where we're allowed to ask him questions. So first let me tell you good morning and thank you very much for coming and speaking for yourself and perhaps for some of the other parents.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. We had a meeting last night, a PTO or PTA meeting, however you wish to call it.
Where was that meeting?
At West Pine Elementary. And Dr. Bob actually opened the floor up to every question. And he stayed there probably for an hour and a half, close to 2 hours. And by the end of it, there was a lot of humble pie being eaten by everyone. And I think he got really educated on the concerns of the parents because they weren't holding punches back. They were going out completely and putting it all out there to him. And since they didn't have to write a question down for anyone to handpick what was being asked, they presented a lot of testimony basically as to how this move might affect them and how it'll affect their children.
Okay, let me interrupt you to say this first. I've been to a lot of these meetings, and I'm not seeing parents really open up and really speak their mind in a negative way towards Dr. Bob. So I'm glad to see that they're speaking their minds, not necessarily that they're accusing him, but rather that they are speaking their minds, and that's a good thing. Now, when you say they're not happy with these moves, start at the beginning and tell us what you mean by the moves.
Well, by the moves, what they're talking about, Bob, in his initial plan that he showed, at the very beginning of it, he opened his hands up and said, hey, I'm sorry about what has come out previously, because nothing is in stone.
I'm going to have to take you back even further than that, because you've kept yourself informed about these things.
Very much so.
Now, and by the way, you do have a child in the school system. But when you say these moves, start at the very beginning and tell us what these moves even are. I mean, we're talking about busing.
That's it in a nutshell.
So can you explain that? Just go through that whole history.
Okay. The way I understand it, and the way many of us did last night, is we've got schools that are under capacity. We've got schools that are over capacity. Some of the schools in the north, they're going to have to be brought up to, their max caps, while schools in the south and the population centers here of Moore County are already at or above their max capacity.
And that's a fact. There's no dispute.
He presented himself. He said, hey, this is the deal. This is the numbers. We have a parent that is real active. She's just a researcher fanatic, and she's been on there, and she's pulled up all the numbers. And the numbers for West Pine Middle School, Southern Middle, they are at or above their max personnel that they can use. They're talking about some of the words that come out were the little modular units, and that's not really a classroom. That's a little trailer parked out behind your school. We've had to use that in a lot of places here in Moore County. And what they're trying to do is facilitate learning, I'll say that, in a better environment. And having your children walk out to a trailer, can it be done? Sure. Okay, is it optimal? Is it ideal? No. The schools that we've got now they're not being built with the idea of growth in mind. And I brought that up to him at one point. I said, hey, you're talking about all these schools that we're building. We're building 4 new elementary schools here in Moore County. And all these elementary schools are going to be feeding middle schools. Well, how many middle schools are we building? And there was no response. I mean, he did not have a clue about it. They hadn't put it into any planning. They hadn't put it into any ideas. And it's one of those things that's going to be a detriment to the county itself.
Well, Mitch, getting back to busing, you made a pretty good case for why we need to bus. What are some of the problems, if we have any, with busing?
Well, another question I asked him, I said, he brought up the point that if you started the bus route at the front and end at the beginning and back, no matter how you switch it, it doesn't matter. It's going to be the same. Well, I brought up to him, I said, at the end of it, when you're talking about moving the school that bus is going to, your fuel budget's going to start to increase. All right, kids are going to be on the bus longer. As it stands right now, my child doesn't get home for an hour after school lets out. And that's riding the bus home. And she has to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. She's in the 5th grade. And for a kid that young, it's not optimal for learning itself.
Well, one of the hallmarks, I believe, of a good school, I think one of the hallmarks that a parent looks for is a neighborhood school. And when you can go to a neighborhood school and kind of grow up in that school and then go to the next phase, now I get it. We can't always do this. There are all kinds of land problems, etc. But when we talked earlier, you were talking about the student demographics have been one of the reasons for busing.
When he brought that up, he brought up not using really the word demographics. He brought that up using, though in the beginning he did say school demographics was an issue. And with demographics, he immediately went into the free and reduced lunches to determine the demographics of the area. Well, whether a parent makes $100,000 or $20,000 has nothing to do with demographics. That is basically where they're at in their career pattern, where they're at financially. it has zero to do with demographics. And for anyone to even use demographics, I believe, since the Great Society issues of Lyndon Baines Johnson, I think it all got basically said, okay, this doesn't work. As a kid, I got bused. I was the last one to get picked up, and I rode for 45 minutes to an inner city school in Kansas City. Did the school function, the grades of the school, do any better when my neighborhood got there? No. The school never went up. The school always stayed a D-class school. And basically busing for demographics or for grade stability, let's call it, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You've got to fix the problem at the school if you want to elevate that school's learning potential.
Okay, Mitch, pardon me, I want to interrupt just for a second and tell everyone out there who might be listening, including Dr. Bob, that Dr. Bob is invited on here anytime to answer questions and to explain himself. If we are accusing him of something that might not be right or may not be fair, please, Dr. Bob, come on and let us know. Mitch, I understand that somewhere during one of these meetings, some of you parents were accused of being racist. Do I understand that correctly or not?
Okay. It wasn't an exact, you people are racist. Okay, there was a point brought up that kids are not learning racism at school. Well,
what does that mean? They're not learning how to be racist, or they're not learning about
basically,
racism?
It seemed like you put the onus on the parents that we're teaching racism ourselves.
You say he, you mean Dr. Bob?
Dr. Bob.
Well, Dr. Bob, I know you're listening. You are invited on here to counter this. Please, go ahead, man.
I didn't understand that. I mean, basically, when you take kids in the 5th grade and in middle school, if you let things go, they're going to sort themselves out. And kids in elementary schools, they don't even realize they're of color until they start getting older and older and older. Kids in middle school or in grade school today, they're just kids. They just want to be kids. They don't understand anything to do with racism, and that's much to their credit. Maybe it's a little naivety, but it works for them. That's the way it should be. And parents, I'm sure, are not at home telling their kids, that's how they need to be. There's not a bunch of white supremacists running around Moore County. I'm certain of that.
Well, I'm certain of it as well. And not to say that we don't have racists that live here. We all condemn them. We all condemn them, strongly condemn them.
Absolutely.
And
let me jump in and just remind everybody you're listening to the extended Zumwalt Zone. John Zumwalt and his guest today, Mitch Williamson.
And by the way, Mitch is speaking for himself, but I want to tell you he represents the views of a lot of parents. Because of being on this show, I get lots of calls and various ways of communication. And many parents feel the way that Mitch feels, and I think he speaks for a lot of them. He certainly does not speak for every one of them any more than I speak for anyone. But, Mitch, you talked about the, well, you and I agree that there's a lack of planning. And the school board, it seems to us, is more of a rubber stamp than a planning partner. And
Absolutely.
we both agree, I believe, that that's not why we elected our school board. Now, having said that, I know all the school board members, and I like all of them, but that has nothing to do with this. I think somewhere along the line we've gotten mixed up between thinking the school board is just supposed to go to all the ball games and cheer and get their pictures taken, which is wonderful, and I always love seeing that. But we believe they should be involved in the planning process. Now, you said last night at the meeting that Dr. Bob said he was keeping this away from them so he could talk about that if you would.
Okay, Dr. Bob opened up his meeting And one of the first things he said within the first 2 to 3 minutes of the meeting was, there is no plan. But then again, to caveat that, later in the meeting, he actually said, we're developing this, the school board doesn't have a plan, we will give them the plan. And to me, the school board, according to North Carolina School Board Association, is supposed to be giving Dr. Bob the plan. We elected these officials, and they're supposed to be representing our basic needs, our desires, and our views. They're supposed to be the ones going out, developing this plan, and saying, here, Dr. Bob, this is what we've got for you. They're supposed to give him the tools to administer the overall education of our county. What seems to be happening, according to last night's meeting, is he's got a organization that's coming in, crunching all the numbers and looking at all the positions and schools and everything that we have, and they're coming up with a plan, and along with him supporting them, and they're developing it. And he said, the school board will know when I give it to them. Well, something's wrong in Denmark now, because they're supposed to be giving Bob the tools, and the plan would be one of those tools he needs to have.
Of course, all of us would probably agree that they can give him marching orders, guidelines, and have him come up with a plan, and then they add to it, take away from it, or approve it, or disapprove it. The perception here, on my part, is that they actually just rubber stamp it. I've been to a number of these meetings, and it's always like there's a plan introduced, move to accept it, second, Bob's plan is accepted. You know, talk a little bit about the emotional stress it puts on a student to, go ahead, you've got my question.
Yeah, well, last night, like I said, when some of the parents were basically reading testimonies that they had developed because they didn't want to forget anything, they were bringing up the fact that some of their children have moved already to 3 different schools.
Well, they've not moved at all.
They have never moved.
Yeah.
And granted, a new school came online, they pulled them out of one school and put them in another, and the emotional stress that that's having on kids is, you know, you've got teachers saying, well, their child is, you know, having issues with this, and saying it's all emotional, and the first thing everybody's thinking of is, well, you need to put your child on medication. Unless you're a doctor, no, you don't need to be giving people advice on that area. Okay, teachers in no way, shape, or form should ever be saying, your child needs medication. No. Some of the emotional strain of going to multiple schools before you're in the 5th grade is causing that. And some of the doctors are saying, well, hey, medication might be right. You know, whether the parent and the doctor are coming up with a plan and doing it, that's up to them, not the school itself, and not by any way, shape, or form a teacher.
You know, when my son was in the 1st grade in Kentucky, I remember the teacher told us that he should be on medication. And I asked her why, and she said, well, he has trouble sitting in the seat, and he plays, he likes to play, he likes to joke. And I thought she was talking about me when I was a little boy, because that's what little boys do, at least real little boys. I shouldn't have said that, but that's what little boys do, and they sometimes act unruly. But I agree with you, the teacher shouldn't have done that. Now, we love teachers. We love our teachers.
Absolutely.
And did not mean in any way to insinuate that they're running around trying to prescribe medicine. There's an accusation out there, maybe you can tell me if there's any basis for this, in your opinion, that some of this busing might be occurring in order to bring up grades in certain schools.
We've got a middle school that is performing below standard, okay? And it's considered a D school, okay? Some of the ideas that were brought up and batted around last night was They're going to be moving kids from one middle school to another middle school, and one of those reasons is for just that. One of the slides he posted up showed how if you give diversity to a school, that the school's grades come up. He showed where when all the kids that go to Pinecrest, however, in the middle schools or in the elementary schools might be failing in specific areas, all of a sudden those kids, once they get to Pinecrest, and they're in a more diverse environment, their grades start to rise. Well, why didn't anybody look at the fact that maturity has a lot to play with that? Okay, when kids start getting into high school, they become a little bit more mature. They're not always climbing the walls. They're not always sitting in their seat fidgeting. They're not always, losing their mind. They're a little bit older. They're a little bit more understanding, and they're starting to realize that, hey, adulthood is, just a few years away, and I need to buckle down and maybe get into a college or whatever school.
Yeah, maturity level increases.
Exactly. It starts to increase.
I feel like I must say a word about schools that get a lower grade. I speak a lot about Mindy and her absolute passion and love for education and for doing what was right for the kids. And she was involved in the curriculum in the last years of her life. And I remember her coming home in tears, literally in tears, and saying, John, this is just so wrong what they're doing. Some of these principals and some of these schools are being judged as inferior schools through no fault of their own. They have children in that class who, and it's not the kids' fault, speak zero English, and yet the teachers judge by how well they do on a test and how well she teaches them. They've got kids in some schools that just flat are not at all supervised by their parents. They get very little to eat, and the teachers in the schools and the principals are judged by these standards. That is not right, she would say, and that's why some schools can be a D. And so I get this thing about busing to raise the standards, but I do not agree with it. Not one little bit do I agree with it. I think we've got to put the blame where it lies. Now, you talked about Dr. Bob's statistics and about how once a person gets to a certain school, their grades seem to rise. Let me use a very quick example. I read a survey once that said a person who eats an apple every day, and I really did read this, seems to live longer. And I thought, well, that's good. But what they probably forgot to mention was the person who eats an apple a day is probably more likely to exercise and to watch their health and to brush their teeth and do all these things. And so you can take a statistic and you can make it look any way you want to try to achieve the effect that you're trying to achieve. What is your primary... Mitch, I know that if you would have been the only parent who felt the way you feel, we wouldn't be talking now. And if I thought that, because it would be ridiculous to have one disgruntled parent, but there is a slow kind of a rumbling below the surface. And again, we don't want to turn this into a mob, and I know you're the last person that would ever want to turn it into a mob. But what do we hope to achieve? What's our end goal here? And I caught you off guard with that, but do you have any ideas about what we'd like to see happen?
As an end state, I think what we need to do is have a board that's going to actually represent the parents, a board that's actually going to work for us. We're at a point now where I believe personally, we've got to have in the population areas, we've got to have another middle school. He brought up last night how all the schools near the population centers are over capacity, and we're building 800-person schools. Well, 800-person school doesn't account for the 30 to 40,000 person growth that the county's going to experience over the next, say, 10, 20 years. We're kicking this can down the road just a little bit rather than actually taking a big bite out of it. We're not planning for the future. And I think our school board needs to say, hold it, we need to start developing more of a futuristic idea on this.
By speaking with parents, and
absolutely.
And I always use this word, representing. They represent the folks who've elected them. That's why we elect people, so that we can talk to them and they can take charge of their employees. Do you see something different going on here? Do you agree with me that we couldn't really bring these issues to the forefront a year ago?
I think they could have brought them a few years ago. They could have brought it up. I don't think they're positive planning people. Okay, the board is, like I said, is supposed to develop the plan itself and give Bob the tools. They didn't give him the tools years ago. 10 years ago, they were planning on less growth than what we're definitely experiencing. We've had a couple of new commands join us on Fort Bragg and Pope Air Force Base, and those commands have brought in more families. Military families are starting to migrate this direction because, let's face it, Moore County is a great place to live. And, they're bringing more and more people are coming up, and, the board is not looking at what that's going to do for the future. Hence the reason I said earlier, they need to start considering another middle school near the population area.
Yep. We're about to run out of time, Mitch. Let me tell you, thank you very much for being here. I want to reemphasize the truth. And the truth is that the parents that Mitch and others represent love our schools, love our children. Steve and I love our schools and love our children, and we love our teachers. We would like for us to come together in a positive way, work with the school board, let them start supervising Dr. Bob, because we believe they need to. And Dr. Bob and everyone who listens to this, tell him all day long today he's invited to come on here anytime he wants to answer questions, to defend himself, or to prove me wrong. And thank you, Steve.
I think both of you, John, and especially Mitch, you're an example of parents getting involved, and that's what it takes to get a good education system for all of us. All right, so it goes for this Wednesday. Have yourself a great, safe day. We'll see you back bright and early tomorrow, 7 to 9, for a thumping Thursday morning with the Leader Man. Until then, be sure to support all the mom and pop businesses you hear on our airways, because they're the backbone of our economy here in Moore County. Your money will stay here, roll over, and create jobs for all of us. And don't forget, millions of Americans have fallen, they have died to give and protect the freedoms that you get to enjoy today. Live today worthy of their and their family's sacrifice. I'm Steve Leader Adams, and the Leader Man and Nicky Calls the Dog. We'll all see you this afternoon at 2, rain or shine, at the dog park.